Hey guys, remember I used to review this movie? Remember this guy? Since I covered the sea battle in Godzilla vs. Kong, I figured I'd go back and cover the first fight of the series. Is it even fair to call this a fight? Is it? Regardless, this is a scene that gets my emotional investment but still irritates my logic gland. What, you don't have a logic gland? It's right next to the prostate. Now let's do some stimulating. Here we are in Hawaii, where Ford's trying to get home to get some more sister blisters. I miss that face. So our boy's chilling at the airport when a small child is separated from his parents. Oh no! Oh, why? Trying to squeeze some investment out of me by adding a random kid to a dangerous situation? You know, if you wrote Ford better, the investment would be natural. Anyway, we cut to the nearby jungle, where we get another example of one of this movie's most annoying habits. Having ground teams take the long way around to discovering something that's clearly visible by helicopter. I mean, I'm glad we're getting some characters on the ground to add perspective to the scene, but come on. How are you gonna miss that from the air? Couldn't you have seen that from a satellite or something? I mean, the Muto hasn't yet used its... Oh, there it is. And there goes your air cover. Poor bastard. If only he was wherever the helicopters were. You know, because they somehow completely avoided the EMP and are still around at the airport. Boy, they really needed to lock down the rules for that EMP. Every time the Muto uses it, I have more questions.
You give it 10 seconds, light's gonna come back on.
How do you know that? How do you know that, Ford? This line is so bizarre. Is he sure it'll only be 10 seconds because he's seen the Muto use the EMP before? And if he believes this is the Muto's EMP, shouldn't he be like, I don't know, panicking? If the power's out, then you know the killer's inside the house. Why are you so nonchalant about this whole thing? Maybe he read the script. Meanwhile, offshore, a large signature is being picked up on radar.
Target spotted offshore, 2 knots due east of your position. Could be a second bogey.
Hold on a parsec. Aren't knots a measure of speed, not distance? Oh, Christ. Ah, but there's our boy! Finally entering the movie, almost an hour in. Terrific. Props where props are due, though. This is a great Godzilla landing sequence. Even though it's notably lacking in Godzilla, it's nice to see him represented by a destructive force of nature. This is where the film excels. I have to acknowledge the little girl on the beach here, watching the tide go out. At first I thought this was just another randomly inserted kid for the audience to root for. I mean, this kind of thing never works on me because kids are usually bad actors. I'm sorry, but it's true. They literally have no time to gain acting experience unless they're like a Dakota Fanning type. She was great. This girl kinda looks bored. I mean, so does everyone else, but it's hard to be worried about a child in danger when she's just chillin'. Well, it's a small role, Hannes, who cares? Well, let me tell you. Thailand, 2004. A little girl spotted the tide going out and managed to warn hundreds of beachgoers of the incoming tsunami, saving their lives. It's nice when these films draw from real-life events. It almost makes up for all the cheesy shit they do. Like adding this dog. Bruh. We're really doing the dog in danger thing? What is this, Twister? What is this, Volcano? What is this, Speed 2? What is this, Independence Day? I wish it was Mars Attacks. You can tell this is the moment where they wanted your girlfriend to hold your arm a bit tighter. Oh, the poor pooch! Don't worry, folks. His leash came undone at just the right moment, and he made it into the crowd of people, so I guess he's okay? Even though that crowd is utterly obliterated by that wall of water. I mean, those dumb enough to not just go into the buildings with tsunami-proof windows. Look, the important thing to get from this is that that dog is definitely dead. And Godzilla killed him. And I'm sure animal lovers will find that offensive, meanwhile we're watching 1,000 people drown to death and you almost feel numb to it. I honestly forgot Godzilla killed these people. It makes you wonder why this doesn't get him on mankind's shit list, but killing 8 people does later. Huh. Also, why does he create a tsunami here and not at the end of the movie? Fuck you, that's why. So then we get that trailer moment. Soldiers on rooftops fire up some flares, revealing Godzilla. We see the crowd's reaction, and honestly, I think these faces best represent my reaction after leaving the theater. Blank, expressionless, confused. It's fucking poetry. Then the soldiers start lighting up Godzilla. Okay, pause. So in their briefing, I'm sure these guys were told the last time we attacked this thing, we used nukes and it did nothing. So why are we risking provoking him into attacking? And why are we doing this with civilians in between? Seems a bit silly, right? They're just needlessly putting refugees in the line of fire. But Godzilla don't give two shits, keeps right on going. My man, don't stoop to their level. Back at the airport, the lights come back on, revealing the Muto is now on the monorail tracks, and the tram is heading right for it. You'd think people would move to the back of the car, but nah, they just huddle in place. Yeah, that was gonna do it. Duck and cover was never gonna work, dummies. So the tram is split in two and people start sliding off to their deaths. Presumably. I watched the scene again and it looks like people are coming up out of the rubble beneath the tram, so maybe they're fine? I don't know. What are stakes anymore? Especially considering that the last time we see Ford before the scene suddenly ends, he's clinging on for dear life holding a child. Seriously, that's how we leave him in this scene. Then the next time we see him, it's the next day and he's fine, walking around with the kid like nothing happened. To the writers of this film, was it really necessary to yada yada how Ford got out of that situation? I mean, that's just crazy from a filmmaking standpoint. But here we are. Muto is trashing the airport and people are freaking out. I will give props to this moment here where this guy is so terrified he doesn't even notice the water hitting his feet. It's a nice little touch. All in all, I will applaud this scene for building tension and setting the stage for a great fight. But we all know what my main issue is going to be. Let's just get it over with. You know, I think that's actually a quote from the writers. Let's just get this over with. So the helicopters swoop back in and target the Muto. However, to avoid colliding with Godzilla, they veer into the Muto and cause a chain reaction of explosions across the runway. People are screaming, going apeshit, and then Godzilla's foot comes down. Silence. The Muto turns to see our boy in all his glory. It's been a decade since I've seen him on the big screen. We just gave him a big entrance. Now it's time to get some of that Godzilla action we're starving for. And end scene. Who wrote this shit? In what world is this the right thing to do? You understand you're setting the tone for the franchise, right? A bunch of hype with no payoff? You proud of that? Look, I like Gareth Edwards. I liked Rogue One. Sure, it had shitty characters and was mostly Star Wars porn, but that's what I wanted. I wanted some Godzilla porn. I wanted action. This ain't porn. This ain't even a dirty magazine. This isn't even a rain-soaked Macy's catalog you found under your porch one summer. This is Blue Balls. The darkest blue you've ever seen. And in service of what? Building hype? I was hyped! You just got me hyped! To build the moment and tap out at last second is just mean. And let me guess, because I know people will try to defend this decision and I know exactly what they always say. Well, in Jaws, they held back on showing the shark. That was an even better movie because they held back. You want to compare this movie to Jaws? Is that what you want? Guy on the other end of this hypothetical argument? Well, let me explain exactly what a fucking moron you are. Jaws is not a movie about a shark. Jaws is a movie about a group of well-written characters dealing with a shark. When they held back on the shark, which was mostly due to technical reasons than anything else, the movie would lean back on its strong characters. I come back to that movie to watch the Indianapolis scene above everything else. That's how great the characters are. Sure, this movie has a Brody, but he's no Chief Brody. There's no Quint, no Hooper, Mr. Mayor, Chief, ladies and gentlemen. None of that. Also, holding back on the shark worked thematically to play on our fear of the unknown and what could be lurking below the surface. We'd never seen the shark before. We didn't know what to expect, so we were excited to finally see something. Conversely, Godzilla 2014 is the 30th film in a franchise. There's no sense playing coy even to the new viewers. We all know what to expect, and we just spent the first hour waiting for it. What is this playing hard to get shit? And fuck any pretentious ass who applauds this scene for being stylistic. Sure, this decision to do this is unique, atypical, unusual. Doesn't make it good. But maybe I'm being too harsh. You know, if this monsters on the TV moment happened more towards the beginning of the film, it would have been a lot more effective. It's just the fact that it's happening an hour in that's so ridiculous. Because in my brain, I know the runtime of the movie and I can feel when we're about halfway through. If you're still playing coy by that point, I know we're in trouble. You're making me make this face. It's not good. So, what would be the simplest solution? Show us the goddamn fight! If you'd kept the fight, I would have loved this scene! Showing the fight on TV miles away is great at building the scale of this event, but you have to show the event. Showing the devastation afterward in the city is a plus too, but show me the city being devastated! I've always enjoyed the idea of exploring what happens after a monster battle in a city. I love seeing the impact that it has on the people on the ground. So why couldn't we have both? It's like you gave us a bunch of sides with no main course. There's no meat to what's happening, so I have nothing to sink my teeth into. The worst feeling is when you pick up the plot from the next day and you realize you're just back to waiting for the monsters again. Ugh. And to those of you who feel satisfied with this scene and think that what we got is the best they could have given, then there's just one thing I have to say to you. There's only one thing I could possibly say that would make you understand how I feel about this scene. And that is,